The mindless minions. Villains don't always cause havoc on their own. As many of you know, they have their mindless minions who serve their whims and usually do all the dirty work. Even though most of these expendable bits of cannon fodder are nameless and unknown, there are some minions who could have some background story to why they serve under their main boss. Consider how it is in a video game. You have lesser enemies to fight, but then you eventually face a mini-boss. The mini-boss is essentially that minion who has more components in their design than the lesser enemies you've just mowed down to get to this particular enemy. But we must ask, what particular traits do the minions have that make them minions in the first place? Why do they willingly or unwillingly serve under the villain? 1. They're usually unintelligent. That's why they're called mindless minions in the first place. They are not smart at all. If they were, they'd have a mind of their own, wouldn't they? They'd know they're being used as an expendable tool by the villain and would have become the hero instead. However, many of these minions are not even aware that they are fighting for a lost cause. Their boss has manipulated them into doing his or her bidding, unaware their boss has simply given them a death sentence. 2. They are impressionable. Usually someone who is naive or gullible, an impressionable person is someone who is willingly going along with whatever it is without taking a moment to question if it is legitimate or not. In other words, they will take any bit of information they receive at face value without asking any questions. Take, for example, the news on TV, social media, or in a newspaper. There are some people who will simply believe everything that they see and hear rather than make up their own mind about the particular issue, let alone question the validity of it, like asking, is this really the full story, or are there elements that have been left out intentionally to create a certain narrative? Unfortunately, media outlets can be used by the villains to promote propaganda. History has shown this does happen often, sadly. Those who are less likely to become a mindless minion are those who think for themselves and can look past the nonsense being fed to them. Furthermore, they are willing to question everything, including authority. 3. They are those who feel lost and don't fit in with society. Many people have moments in their life where they feel a bit out of place. I, for example, felt that way for a long time. However, I knew never to follow the crowd. I stick with people who I know think for themselves and don't blindly follow others. In other words, I surround myself with free thinkers, those willing to look at things logically and challenge my ideas and perspectives. In addition, respect my views whether they agree or disagree, and vice versa. When considering those looking to feel like they belong, we can take a look at cults as a prime example of how and why people join them. It really is for the sake of belonging, or to feel accepted or validated and be part of some kind of movement or ideology that they feel connected to. Usually groups like these are formed on the basis of being an oppressed group of people. Villains try to appeal to these types of people because they know they can manipulate them easily. In most cases, as expressed earlier, most ideologies are nothing but trouble. That's why I emphasize people should go to the beat of their own drum and not be part of some distorted hive mind. On a side note, how you know if you're in a cult is to see how others react when you have a differing perspective on things, let alone an opposing viewpoint. If you are met with negative reactions such as being called names, berated, and being bullied in many other ways, then you know you're with the wrong crowd of people. 4. They will easily become disorganized when their boss or bosses are dead. When you cut off the head of the snake, you throw a massive wrench into the army of darkness. Consider a necromancer, a wizard who has the capacity to control the dead and create an army of zombies. The zombies rely heavily on the necromancer's commands in order for them to function. If you were to destroy the necromancer, the zombie army will crumble. But we must consider if there are any mini-bosses in the mix. If those exist, even though you may have thrown a sizable wrench into the evildoer's workings, still there is some means of command among the ranks. Just like in video games, the bad guys will completely fall when both the mini-bosses and the main boss are defeated. After that, the minions can be mopped up with ease. That is it for this chapter of episode 1 of Writer's Corner. If you'd like to check out the next chapter, there should be a little link somewhere on the screen there, or you could check out the link in the description down below.